The film opens in the ocean. Two men on a fishing vessel pull a metal coffin from the water. They slowly place it into the boat as it gushes water from inside. One of the men opens the part covering the face, and they are submerged in the sunken metal coffin is Kwan. For over 500 years, she has died and come back to life again and again, unable to escape the ocean's grip. Her screams are silenced by water. Her mind, fractured by endless death. The world moved on, but she remained forgotten. Until now, a woman, named Discord, arrives to save her. 6 months later in Split, Croatia, Andy leads the old guard team. Niall, Joe, Nikki, and Copley in a covert mission to retrieve a cache of stolen weapons from a fortified compound. Andy, now mortal since the last film, moves with caution but retains her deadly edge. Niall has grown stronger, more confident. She's beginning to feel the weight of immortality and the loneliness it brings. Andy and Copley find a guard, relieving himself by a tree. She strikes him in the head with her weapon, leaving him unconscious and taking his weapon. Joe and Nikki confront 2 other guards, fighting them off. In the midst of the scuffle, Joe's thumb is cut off, but he manages to take down the guard. Being immortal, he reattaches the thumb, and it heals instantly. The 2 then run, opening fire into the air toward the parked cars in the compound, creating chaos. They start 2 of the vehicles and drive off. The distraction works. The rest of the guards give chase while Andy and Copley infiltrate the building. Niall watches from a boat using binoculars, relaying updates about the guards outside. Inside the mansion, more guards attack Andy and Copley, but they manage to defeat them. Andy has to be cautious since she is no longer immortal. As the fights continue inside, Joe and Nikki speed down the road, pursued by enemy vehicles. Niall crashes the boat at the compound's edge and opens fire on the guards outside. Back inside, the battle rages on as Andy and Copley eliminate the remaining guards. Niall scales a wall with agility, like a lizard. Guards on the balcony above try to shoot her, but she takes them down. Suddenly, the man in charge of the compound, the one responsible for stealing the weapons, appears and shoots at Niall, grazing her neck. She jumps off the balcony using a flagpole to break her fall as he continues firing. She lands on the lower floor and reunites with Andy and Copley. On the road, enemy vehicles approach from the opposite direction and open fire on Joe and Nikki. The 2 return fire, eliminating the driver and passenger of the first car. Nikki transfers to Joe's car while driving at high speed. He clings to the outside as his own car collides with an enemy vehicle. The second enemy car rolls over his leg, breaking it. He waits for it to heal, then kicks a man off a dirt bike and climbs into the car. At high speed, they collide head-on with a pursuing enemy car, sending their vehicle plunging into the ocean. Meanwhile, Andy, Copley, and Niall find their target and open fire directly into his chest, eliminating him. After the flawless takedown, they return home and sit down for dinner. Copley receives intel on the buyer of the weapons they had just recovered. He shows them a photo. It's a woman. Niall stares at it, sensing familiarity. She's been having strange dreams, vivid visions of a woman she's never met, entering an ancient room filled with books, like a library. In the dream, she hurts the person who owns the books and takes some of them. Back in Paris, Booker, a former ally exiled after betraying the team, returns to his apartment drunk, bottle in hand. He discovers a break-in, gun drawn. He finds Kwan waiting. She's resurfaced, and she's furious. She tells Booker she's waited a long time for this moment. Kwan demands to know where Andy is, her former closest friend. She takes Booker captive, not for revenge, but to use him to get to Andy. The team travels to South Korea in search of Tua, an ancient immortal scholar who once helped Kwan. In her early years, Tua lives in secrecy, protected by layers of tradition and myth. While there, Joe claims he needs some time alone. Nikki doesn't believe him and decides to follow. He discovers Joe had been secretly communicating with Booker and plans to meet him. Booker had gone silent for a week. Niall tries calling Andy but reaches voicemail. Meanwhile, Andy and Copley meet Tua. He welcomes them and tells them about Discord. He reveals startling truths. Niall is the last immortal ever born. With her arrival, the rules have changed. Most surprisingly, immortality can now be transferred, taken, or lost, especially in combat. This explains how Andy lost her powers in the first film. Worse, it means Niall could unintentionally strip others of theirs. Kwan plans to reshape the immortal order by controlling who lives forever. The team reunites at their hideout. Tua joins them, and the team is surprised to meet another immortal. Only Andy knew of him. She explains Tua had asked her to keep his existence secret, and she honored that promise. Niall informs Andy that Booker has gone missing and that Joe had been talking to him in secret. Suddenly, Joe receives a call. It's Booker, sharing his location. Joe and Nikki go to find him. They locate him sitting on a park bench. Booker tells them he needs to see Andy. Once back, Booker tells Andy Kwan is free and has a message for her. Andy reads the message and decides to meet Kwan. She's shocked to learn how Kwan escaped from the sea. Niall, concerned, insists on joining her. On the way, Niall recalls her past with Kwan, how they fought for survival and vowed never to abandon each other. When they arrive, Niall promises to stay close behind. Andy finds Quan, and emotions run high. Andy explains why she couldn't save her during the 500 years she was trapped in the metal coffin. She's stunned to see Quan alive, but Quan isn't interested in forgiveness. She wants justice and change. Quan offers a vision of a new future, where immortality is no longer random, where those chosen can reshape the world. Andy refuses. She still believes in free will and the randomness of fate. Quan, frustrated, leaves. Niall, searching for Discord, finds the two fighting. She tells them to stop. Discord appears, silently observing before walking away. Niall follows her to a church, where Discord reveals that Niall is the last immortal. Niall learns that Discord is older than Andy, more ruthless than Quan. Discord believes Niall holds the key to immortality's evolution and plans to use her to reset the world. Discord doesn't want to heal the planet, she wants to rule it. She has orchestrated the theft of ancient texts written by immortals, amassing knowledge, power, and followers. She intends to use Niall's power to choose who remains immortal and who doesn't. Discord leaves Niall in the church, dazed and filled with questions. Back at their hideout, the team is uncertain about their next move. Andy enters another room and removes her jacket, revealing bruises from her fight with Quan. Booker approaches Tua, who explains that Andy may have lost her immortality due to Niall. The first time they met, Niall stabbed Andy, possibly transferring her powers. Booker later approaches Andy and shares what he's been going through since their last encounter. He apologizes for betraying them in the past. Later, Discord and Quan meet. They unite, with Quan expressing her desire to make the human race suffer. Discord agrees to help. A nuclear facility in Indonesia is hijacked by Discord's forces, with Quan leading. Security guards spot a vehicle speeding toward the gate. As it crashes into the barrier, the driver, Quan, is launched through the windshield. They believe her dead, but she suddenly rises. She places a sword to a guard's neck, forcing the others to drop their weapons. As the distraction unfolds, Discord's forces open fire, killing all guards and taking over the facility. They issue a single demand: Niall must surrender, or they'll trigger a reactor meltdown that could kill millions. Back with the Immortals, Niall is training outside. Booker joins her, followed by Tua. During the session, Niall nearly slices Tua, but Booker intervenes and gets cut near the elbow. Tua realizes the cut has stripped Booker of his immortality. Despite Copley's warnings, the team decides to intervene. They infiltrate the nuclear facility, fully aware it's a trap. Doing nothing would be worse. They move in cautiously, only to discover they've been expected. Surrounded, no one dares open fire. Any wrong move could trigger a meltdown. A brutal fight breaks out. Copley, operating from a control van, directs them toward the control room to shut down the reactor. When they arrive, mercenaries are already waiting. Andy, Niall, and Booker fight back. The enemy's goal is to capture them, using special weapons that emit electric shocks. Niall tries to help but is knocked back by an explosive. When Andy looks down for Niall, she's gone. Meanwhile, Joe, Nikki, and Tua reach the control room. Just as they try to shut down the reactor, the door seals. Tua rushes, but can't stop it in time. They're trapped. Copley instructs them to find a manual override. Outside, more mercenaries attack. He exits the van to fight for his life but is outnumbered. Joe, Nikki, and Tua are gassed and captured. Copley is separated and presumed dead. Andy continues fighting, nearly overwhelmed. She's pinned to the floor, but Booker arrives just in time. During the battle, they argue over who should lead the charge. Booker reveals he gave Andy his immortality. She begins to heal. Her immortality has returned. Tua theorized that if a wounded immortal is willing, they can pass their regenerative powers to another. He had injured himself via Niall to pass his immortality to Andy. He sacrifices himself, throwing himself into the line of fire. Andy tries to reach him, but the door won't open. She watches as Booker, now mortal, fights valiantly, but is fatally wounded. He dies, mortal, but free. Elsewhere, Niall wakes up and confronts Quan, asking why she betrayed Andy after centuries of friendship. Quan doesn't answer. They fight. Niall wounds Quan in the side, but she doesn't heal. Both are stunned. Then, Discord stabs Niall in the chest. She collapses, helpless. Quan, realizing Discord betrayed her, is devastated. Niall is taken by the mercenaries. Andy escapes and searches the building. She finds Quan badly hurt and holding an explosive trigger. Andy speaks to her gently, urging her to decide who she truly wants to be. They finally talk, not as warriors, but as women bearing centuries of pain. They make peace, but Discord isn't finished. Helicopters start up on the roof. Andy runs, knowing her friends, Niall, Joe, Nikki, and Tua, are aboard. She leaps into the helicopter as it lifts off, causing it to wobble. She breaks the window, fights the pilot, and is shot, falling onto the rooftop. Her immortality allows her to heal. The pilot attempts to kill her with the blades, but she slips in and fights Discord. They fall onto the roof. Discord's plan is to force Niall to strip the others of their power and transfer it to herself. Andy and Discord clash in a brutal sword fight. Andy notices Discord's wounds aren't healing. She's now mortal. Despite her effort, Discord gains the upper hand and fatally wounds Andy. Weak but determined, Andy vows to come after her. Discord escapes in a helicopter, with Andy's team inside sealed bags. She taunts that she'll be immortal again before Andy can stop her. With Discord gone and her team captured, Andy returns to Tua's subterranean library. Quan, now mortal, is recovering. She forgives Andy. They speak of what's next, not vengeance, but redemption. Discord is still out there. Joe, Nikki, Niall, and Tua are prisoners. The rules of immortality have changed. The next battle may decide the fate of the world. Andy and Quan rise together, old wounds healing anew, purpose igniting. They're going to get their family back, whatever it takes.